everybody! Welcome to a Cricut tutorial. Before we get started, if you're into crafts, make sure you subscribe to my channel. This is the channel for you. I put out new videos all the time, so make sure you hit that bell icon and it will alert you to when I post a new video. We are going to show you guys how to make this beautiful snow shadow box. You only need a few things. You just need a shadow box in any size of your choosing, some vinyl, some cardstock, again, any style of your choosing, and then some fake snow, also any style of your choosing. This is an iridescent fake snow, and it's very staticky. You probably can still see some on my hands. You could use the foam beads, you can use glitter, whatever you guys want, but just make sure that it is going to stay within your frame. So let's go over to Design Space. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to put this together on Design Space and use a template to show you guys how we can do this. Now that we're in Design Space, I've already typed in the words that I'm going to use, and this is Chopin's script. Now I did slice off Christmas because I did have it slightly off when I made this, so I'm going to select them both and weld them. And the reason that we are welding is so that all of the letters are connected and there are not any cut lines in between here. So I know the space that I have to work with, so I'm going to use an 8.5 by 8.5 square. I just like to make my templates so I can get an idea of how my stuff is going to line up. Now, it's always going to put your new thing in front of your old thing. So right-click and move to back, and there you see your design. Now, it does look like it's tilted down a little bit, and it's mostly just because of the words. If we go into make it and we want to just tilt it a little bit differently so it doesn't look so tilted, we can do that when we go to make it. And I just tilted it a little to give me a better look. So I've already uploaded my designs that I'm going to use. I'm going to use these two kissing people and this tree. So let's insert our images, and you can select more than one image at a time to insert just by holding Control and clicking each image. So we're going to use these people here, and I'm going to make them bigger so that obviously they take up more space on our shadow box. And this is going to just be all personal preference as to how large you want your stuff to be on your design. Now, I do want my tree to be bigger than my people, and I don't mind if my tree goes up a little bit into Christmas, but I don't want it to touch it. So we may have to move it around a little bit and reduce its size a little just as we play, because remember, we're going to have some snow down here in this box. So I'm going to make my people a little bit smaller because I don't want them to look like giants with the tree. I just want the tree to look like it's there. So we're pretty much ready to cut. We can just, expand them, do whatever we want to do. I might move them a little closer to the tree or maybe a little further from the tree. This is all just going to be a personal preference thing as to what you guys want to do with your design. And obviously we'll center everything once it's in the box, but this gives us an idea of what it'll look like and that it will fit. So we don't need our big gray box to cut this, and we're going to cut everything in black. So we don't have to worry about, changing colors. Everything's going to be black because it's going to look like a silhouette. So let's go ahead and click Make It, and it's going to cut it all out. I'm going to just move this down a little bit just so it's a little further away from the tree, just so when it cuts, it won't accidentally mess that up. Go ahead, click Continue. I'm going to load our mat. I'm going to get everything cut and weeded. And for some reason, this thing, I didn't plug my machine back in. Plug your machine in also helps. And then I'm going to get everything weeded. And then I'll show you guys how we're going to apply it. We're going to put the snow in. We're going to put the background, which we're also going to cut the background on here. So I will show you guys that as well so that it fits nice and neat. We've weeded everything. I did have to change the font. I was so annoyed. The original font, it just was a little thin and kept ripping. And every once in a while, you just give up on it because it just makes you mad. So I'm using a medium tack transfer tape. This is from 651 Vinyl. I do like this stuff. It's really nice. I've used it in a couple other videos. I definitely have no complaints about it. There is a slight learning curve because it doesn't come on a roll. It's just like a sticky blob. But what I do is I'll cut like a strip, and then I trim off my strip, and then I can use the rest of this strip to do the rest of my design. So I have cleaned the shadow box with alcohol. I don't take my shadow box apart to do this. However, if you have a heavy hand when you rub your vinyl on, take it apart because you're going to crack your glass. I do not have a heavy hand when I do this. I try to be very light And this medium tack makes it really easy to go very lightly. So I don't really need to press too hard. And you see how nicely this comes off from the backing onto this transfer tape. It's really, really nice. So a couple ways you can put this. You can just eyeball it. You can use a straight edge. You can use a level. I just like to eyeball it, honestly. I'm never usually too far off. And we're our worst critics, so even if I am a little bit off, nobody else is going to notice, so it's fine. But yeah, just don't press too hard. You want to be careful because obviously your glass is going to crack if you press too hard. I just use my fingers because vinyl really likes to stick to glass. So there is that. But with this transfer tape, be careful because it is going to pull on your glass a little bit. So you just want to kind of watch for that. And you want to watch for any bubbles. Like I can see I have a little bubble in the F. So we're just going to press it out. And then we're just going to keep pulling. And you're going to pull really slowly. You don't want to go too quick. Just pull real slow and just in little increments. Because that way you can see if anything's lifting, if you have any bubbling, or if anything looks like it might need, you know, an additional press. I can see I have a little lift right here, so we'll just press that back out. And I totally just dropped a piece of paper on the floor. Now, I also will say that I like this transfer tape because I can use this again. So I can actually take this transfer tape and 9 times out of 10, depending on the project, actually use the same piece several times. Especially if it's like a wider piece. So I'm probably just going to try to reuse this piece, and if I have to add a little extra to it, that's fine. So all we're going to do is just take the same piece we just used, and I'm just going to put it over my people. Now I can see that her leg isn't going to fit, so I'm going to trim a little bit off of the bottom of it because it doesn't need to be there. And I'm just going to put it over her leg. Now, truthfully, I'm not this cheap. I don't really have to reuse it, but I might as well save it and not have to redo, you know, waste transfer tape. So we're just going to pull this close to us again, and we're just going to lay our people where we think we want them. Now, I am going to have to trim a little bit away from her leg because she is going to sit a little bit close to the edge. So I don't want my transfer tape to get caught on my wood edge because it'll make it kind of hard to layer down. So we're just going to kind of eyeball. And keep in mind, you don't want them all the way at the bottom of your mat, or at the bottom of your design, because you're going to have snow. And it's okay if these guys aren't completely straight because there's going to be snow on the ground here. So it'll look like they're straight anyways, or that she's standing on a snowbank. So it's okay if they're not 100% straight. So I'm just going to make sure that there's no bubbles in them. There might be a couple, but most of them end up working their way out by the time you're going to put this on the wall anyways. So don't worry too much if you've got some bubbling, because a lot of times it will work its way out. And I do have a few on his leg and a couple up here, but these ones are all pretty small. So 9 times out of 10, they are going to go ahead and just work their way out. But if they're right on the edge, I will work them out for myself, and that way it's just done. But you do want to be careful, especially if you're using the Cricut scraper. That does tend to get a sharp, scrapey edge, and you don't want to scratch up your vinyl. You just want to press it a little bit. This is a squeegee from 651. It was like $2. Totally worth the $2 versus the $10 that they want for the Cricut brand. So I do have a few, like I said, I have a few little bubbles, no big deal. I'm not going to reuse this transfer tape because it got kind of wrinkly. But what I am going to do is take the piece that I didn't use yet, and I'm going to sit it on the tree and apparently drop it all at the same time. So I know it's not all going to cover the tree, and that's okay because we'll just use another little section. But for now, we'll just take this and we're just going to use a couple sections to cover this. A lot of people don't like to do this. I do this constantly because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to keep cutting transfer tape because I'm lazy. So I just reuse, I'll piece together, I'll do what I have to do. So now we're going to place our tree onto our design. And I'm actually doing all of this before I select my background. I've got a couple options, so once we're done placing all of our vinyl down, we are going to take a look and see which design we want to use for our background, because I've got a couple, so we'll take a look and we'll do a little looky-loo. Sometimes, you know, you change your mind as you do the design, or once you put the design together, you may not like what you originally chose, and that happens to me a lot. Again, I'm trimming really close to the edge here because I am going to put the tree a little bit closer to the edge, because I like to have the center a little bit open so that you can see the tree and you can see you know, the people. And this is actually going to sit a little bit lower than the woman and the man. And I don't love my placement of this, but that's okay. Again, it's not 100% straight, and you really don't have to be because of the snow that's going to be on the bottom. But I do, if I'm going to make something 100% straight, I will get a dry erase marker, a level. I will absolutely go to town making sure this stuff's straight. Dry erase marker is great because you can lay your vinyl right on top of it, and it really doesn't affect your vinyl in any way, shape, or form. So I'm just making sure that I got any bubbles out of this one because I know I had some bubbles in it. And then I'm just going to attempt to peel my transfer tape without peeling my letter here. And then all we're going to do is, again, work your way slowly, especially with all these little branches. Just pull slowly, and you do want to be careful not to pull up too fast, because this is pretty sticky stuff. And you just, like I said, if you find a bubble, and this one's actually a weird bubble, there's like something stuck under it. So we'll have to come back to this one here in a second. There was a little piece of something stuck under that guy. So we'll come back and press that back down. It looks like there was a little piece of transfer tape somehow stuck under him, but I'm not sure how that happened. So we're just going to keep pulling. And as you go, you're just going to watch and just make sure all your branches are stuck down. This project you guys can get super duper creative with. I've seen these done in a couple of different styles. And this was just the one I kind of decided I wanted to do. It was one of my favorite Christmas songs. It always just kind of reminds me of growing up and listening to these with my parents, putting up our Christmas tree. So it's all a personal preference on how you want to design these. You do not have to do the exact same design I did. I've seen them, like I said, lots of different ways. So some of these bubbles will work their way out. Don't worry too much about them because they're going to come out within the next day or so. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at our background because I want to see how that's going to look. Now this has the little pull tabby things that I hate. I always rip my fingers trying to get them open. So I use my Cricut tool, even though I probably shouldn't, to pull them up. I just loop it under there, pull them up a little bit so that I can actually pull them up with my finger. This is just one of those struggles I've always had with crafting this devil stuff. So I'm going to pull the back out. And this has a ring around it that's going to hold your wood in, or your glass in. So we're going to look at a couple of different options. So I'm going to put my probably favorite choice last because I think that's the one we're going to go with. But when we flip this over, it's going to slide a little bit, so we just have to keep that in mind. Because it's got this, see, it's got a wood insert. So we'll just look at it like this, and this will kind of give us an idea. I don't think I'm loving that. I think that's just a hair too bright. I like the paper. Don't think I like it for this design. This one's a potential. I like the light color. So let's put that one to the side. I think this one's going to be just too busy for what I want it to look like. And I think I just want something a little more simple. And remember, we're going to have snow down here, so you won't really see the bottom of it, but I just don't like that. This one, however, is my ultimate hopeful choice here because I love the shine. I love the gray. I think this is the one we're going to end up with. I just want to put the frame on top just to get an idea to see if I like how it's going to look. So we're just going to slide the frame on top of it, and I think this is exactly the look I'm going for. I really like this one. So let's go with this gray. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to cut this so that it fits inside our frame too, which is really, really easy. And then you can move it around on your mat, and I'll show you how to do that so you can get like the snowflakes that you want. Because if you cut it in the exact, you know, center or where the Cricut sets it, you're going to get different snowflakes than maybe what you're potentially wanting. So let me set this all to the side, and let's go to design space. You're going to want to make sure that you are looking at this part when you're measuring, because this is what we're actually going to be covering with our cardstock. So while the frame says it's a 9x9, it's actually just a little under 9 on this part. So I usually do about 8 3/4 when I cut this, maybe a little bit more. And I'll show you guys how to do that. So let's go over to Design Space. So we're going to cut that cardstock out, and all we need to do is open up a square, and this is super easy. So we're just going to open up a square, and I said that we're going to go a little bit above 8 1/4. So let's go to 8.82. If it's a little too big, it'll wrap around the back, so it's not really the end of the world. This is really simple. All we got to do then is click Make It, and you're going to put your paper that you're cutting on your mat. And you're going to make sure that you can see the grid around your mat to figure out about where you want your design to cut based on where your snowflakes are. So I know for a fact I really want this one super pretty curly snowflake in here, and I love it. I think it's gorgeous. And I kind of want that between the people. And so I can see that on the grid that is about at 7 and 6. So I'm looking at about 6 here and 7 here, and I know I want that kind of in the center. So all I'm going to do is just find about center and just scoot it in. Now granted, you're going to have a lot of wasted paper doing something like this, but if it's the style that you want and it's the exact design that you're looking for, don't even fret. It's totally worth it to, you know, waste a little paper so that you know that you get the design you want. So I'm going to change my settings to light cardstock. Click Continue. It's going to get ready to cut my light cardstock, and I'm going to bring you guys over to the machine because you guys can see it cut, okay? We're ready to cut, and you can see here's that curly snowflake, and it's about 7 and 6. So I'm going to hit Go. We're going to load her and hit the Go button, the little Cricut logo, and it's going to cut. Now, it's not sticking real great, so hopefully this holds okay. I do have it set to light cardstock. This is not a super heavy cardstock to cut, and it is hitting the back of the wall, so you want to keep in mind to keep your machine up just a little bit from the wall. This is a super quick, easy cut. Takes no time at all. Just going to cut us our quick square, and it's done. And then all we have to do is take our square off, and like I said, my mat's not real sticky, but if you have a sticky mat, you can flip it over and pull off. But there is your square, and there's your curly. So let's put the background on, and we'll get the snow in, and we'll be all done. The final task is adding the snow, and this is just fake snow. It's called, I don't even know, Snow Iridescent Solid Flakes. I bought it last year. This is the brand. It's the DeRice brand. I got it at our local Pack-A-Tans, which I don't know if everyone has those. I know we do, and I think there might be some in Michigan and Pennsylvania. So I used some, like, I don't know, a couple years ago, and I will tell you, this stuff is a mess. It literally gets everywhere, so just be aware of that. And all we're going to do is just pour it, and we're going to pour a pretty decent amount because you got to fill the shadow box, and this may take a few test tries to get the right amount that you want in here, but just know that this really does, this stuff is the devil. It's staticky, it gets everywhere, it's awful, but it's beautiful, so it's worth it in the long run. I do say make sure that you are prepared with a vacuum after you're done using this, because you're going to get it all over your hands. It sticks to everything. You can see it's sticking to my hands, and no matter what you do, it doesn't come off your hands. So just be prepared for that. And like I said, just put a decent amount in. You can always take some out, but I prefer to just put some in, and then I like to brush it off of the window or the glass with the back of my hand a little bit, and then I just sort of take that and just brush it off a little bit, and we're going to test it on the back. So what I did is I put my paper in, and I just am sliding this back on here. Now we're not going to close it because we just need to see where the snow hits. So I'm just going to hold it really tight. Like, you want to make sure you're holding it super tight. Tap it down and keep holding it because you don't want to let go. And just tap it down, and you may need to kind of move some snow around, and I might need to actually take a little bit away. I think that might be a little too much. But this is what you're going to have. So let me take away a little bit more snow. I definitely put a little too much in there. And we're going to go ahead and take away just a bit. Like I said, this snow really truly gets, honest to God, everywhere. So be prepared. I like to warn people before I tell you to do these crafts if it's going to be messy, because this stuff is is a little messy. That's why I keep it in a Ziploc bag, because it gets everywhere. So make sure when you're done using it, you do put it back into some sort of a Ziploc or some type of thing that will contain it. So I took about a handful and a quarter out, and that should be plenty. So we're going to go ahead and put the devil's snow away. Ugh. And I'm just going to, again, brush my hands off, hopefully get as much of it off into the box as I can. I'll take whatever's on the table, toss it back in the box. Because, again, I'm going to have to run the vacuum to get rid of all of this. Because there's like this weird iridescent-y pieces in here. Again, not the cleanest craft, but looks gorgeous when it's done, so totally worth it. So let's go ahead and brush our snow back down. Try to get it off your hands. All right, and this will be our last and final entrant into our snow. So when you put this down, just make sure that you do have the hanger the correct way. And I totally dropped the paper in, which was not what I wanted to do. Make sure you set your paper so that it sits on your frame. I swear to you guys, this is not as hard as it looks. It's just, I've got snow all over my fingers. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to just set our frame on. And again, make sure you put the hanger part on the correct part. So up towards the top of your design. Clip it all in. If you wanted to vacuum now before you move your frame, I would recommend it just so it doesn't get everywhere because it is all over your frame. But we're not going to bother because we're just going to show you. And we're going to tap our snow back down again. And I think that one is perfect. All right, let me get you guys aimed at it so you can see our beautiful craft. So this is all finished, and it is, I mean, this didn't take hardly any time at all. It looks really high-end and pretty, and this looks like something you would buy at like a Pier 1 or, you know, Home Goods or one of those. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm so always happy to answer those for you. Make sure, you know, you let me know what you're looking for. I make these tutorials because you guys ask for them, and I love helping you guys learn how to do these things. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos all the time. Hit the bell icon. That'll let you know when I post a new video. And I hope you guys have a really great day.